Welcome to Love Lies Chronicles.
I hope you enjoyed today's video. Like and subscribe, it helps me create more stories for you. And in the comments, let me know what city or country you're listening from. You're nothing, she screamed, and the ring hit the floor with a metallic ping, skittering across the tiles before settling at my feet. Her chest heaved with performative rage, arms stiff at her sides like she'd rehearsed it all in a mirror. I didn't move, didn't flinch. I just watched her, let her have her little drama. She wanted a scene? I gave her silence. That bothered her more than if I'd shouted back. The kitchen was dead quiet except for the hum of the refrigerator and the hard thud of her heels as she turned and stormed out, slamming the front door so hard a picture frame tipped forward on the wall. I still didn't move. My eyes rested on the ring platinum band, princess cut diamond. I'd chosen it myself, back when her laughter still reached her eyes and I hadn't yet become nothing. I crouched, picked it up, weighted in my palm like a paperweight of failed promises. Then I slid it into the drawer beside the sink, next to a takeout menu and a couple of batteries. It didn't deserve a pedestal anymore. The thing is, I wasn't heartbroken. That's not what I felt. I wasn't even surprised. Not really. Because you don't arrive at a moment like that suddenly. You feel it coming for a long time. You just keep pushing it away, hoping it's not what it looks like. Hoping she's tired, stressed, needing space. Excuses. That's what men like me specialize in, rationalizing red flags, because it's easier than admitting the woman you built your world around doesn't see you as part of hers anymore. I went to bed alone that night. She didn't come back. The next morning, her closet was lighter. She'd taken the designer bags I bought her for Christmas, her favorite heels, and that overpriced leather weekender I always thought looked like a gym bag. Left behind were hangers clinking like wind chimes and an untouched note I once tucked between her sweaters. Just because I love you. No reason needed. She'd left that behind too. But none of that hit me as hard as the fact that she didn't text, didn't call. No follow-up drama. She thought the grand finale had been delivered. Curtain down. And I was supposed to dissolve. Instead, I made coffee. Strong. Black. The way she hated it. I stood in my kitchen and looked around. Marble countertops. Hardwood floors. Every appliance stainless steel. Everything she insisted we upgrade once she landed that job with the luxury property firm. We need to project the right image, she said. As if the house was a showroom and I was just the guy who carried the bags in. She used to love telling people how I'd built a business from nothing. Funny, right? Nothing. That's what she called me now. What she flung at me like a knife disguised as a declaration. It was mid-morning before I allowed myself to think, really think, about what to do next. And what surprised me wasn't how angry I felt. It was how clear I felt. No panic. No desperation to fix things. No pathetic need to chase her. It was like someone finally turned off the static in my head and I could hear myself again. I opened my laptop and began making a list. Not of regrets. Assets. Accounts. Access points. Every single thing she used, leaned on, or depended on. Every detail she either ignored or assumed she had permanent rights to. She called me nothing, but she'd built her comfort on the back of everything I created. I wasn't about to fight for her love, but I was going to take back every inch of the ground she thought she owned. By noon, I'd already logged into our joint checking and savings accounts. I didn't touch her personal account, no need. I just rerouted the auto deposits of my income into a solo account she'd never known existed. Then I removed her as a secondary on our credit card. The phone call with the bank rep was refreshingly uneventful. Anything else I can do for you today, Mr. Lane? No, I said. That's quite enough for now. Then came the little things she wouldn't notice right away. I changed the Amazon Prime password. Canceled her gym membership. I paid for it anyway. Removed her name from the emergency contact list at my office. I called our insurance company and started untangling her from the health and car policies. Death by paper cuts. Quiet, legal, and cold. She'd left the ring. I left her the bills. I didn't tell anyone yet, not my brother, not my coworkers, not even my old friend Troy, who always saw the cracks in my marriage before I did. No, this part was mine. Private. Precise. In the evening, I did something that would have shocked her more than any insult. I cooked. Just for me. Real food. Fresh garlic, thyme, seared chicken breast. The kitchen smelled like something warm and homemade, something she hadn't done in months. She used to call cooking a chore, even though she bragged about her signature lasagna to her friends. I couldn't remember the last time she'd made anything that didn't involve a microwave or a delivery driver. While I ate, I opened my Notes app and kept listing. Vehicle, hers is still in my name. Streaming services, on my card. The condo deed, legally mine, premarital asset. HOA fees. She never paid them, never asked. She could keep her freedom. She'd just have to pay for it herself now. Around 11 p.m., her name lit up my phone for the first time. I stared at it, the way a hunter watches a trap get triggered. No message, just a missed call. I didn't answer. The next one came 15 minutes later. Then a third, and a text. We need to talk. That was it. No apology. No regret. Just the script she expected me to follow. She storms out, throws a ring, cools off at her friend's place, then comes back when I've had time to realize what I did wrong. But I wasn't her script anymore. I brushed my teeth, set my phone to do not disturb, and went to bed. Sleep came easily, because I'd finally stopped waiting to be loved by someone who only knew how to take. And I was just getting started. The first real crack in her confidence came 2 days later. I was in the middle of responding to an email from one of our suppliers when my phone lit up again. Aubrey, wife. This time, she didn't start with a vague request or a half-hearted, we need to talk. She went straight for the question. Did you cancel the Amex? I leaned back in my chair, stared at the screen a few seconds longer than necessary, and typed. You said I was nothing. Figured you didn't want anything from me anymore. No follow-up. No explanation. No apology. Let her chew on that. The rest of my day moved at a steady pace, surprisingly light. Like clockwork, I could anticipate the next domino falling. I'd set things in motion quietly, surgically, and now the effects were arriving like mail. Precise. Timed. That evening, she tried again. I had to cover dinner with my own debit card. That was embarrassing. So you're capable of using your own money. That's good to know. No response. She'd spent so many years choreographing every move, every emotional beat, every look, sigh, dramatic silence, and now she had nothing to play against. No audience. No reaction. It must have been infuriating. I knew Aubrey thrived on attention. She never admitted it, but her patterns were clearer than she liked to believe. The social media posts where she humbly bragged about spa days, dinners at rooftop bars, or treating herself to something expensive, she never tagged me. I was only visible in captions like, hubby insisted I treat myself again. She made it seem like she was the one tolerating me, not the one who had lashed herself onto the comforts I provided. But now the captions stopped. The spa visits stopped. And soon, the friends stopped replying too, because Aubrey had one fatal flaw. She never formed genuine friendships, only alliances. And alliances disappear the moment your power dries up. The real surprise came on Thursday evening. Troy called. Hey, he said. You talked to Aubrey lately? I hesitated. Not really. What? She texted Emily, his wife. Said she might need a place to crash for a few nights. Something about renovations at her cousin's place? Sounded weird. I paused, letting the silence say everything. She's not staying with a cousin, I said finally. Didn't think so. We were both quiet for a moment. You good? Troy asked. Yeah, I said. Actually, I am. Friday was a field day. My bank confirmed the condo utilities were still being routed through the shared account. An oversight on my part. Easy fix. I closed the account altogether. Then I walked into the leasing office downstairs and requested a digital update of all fob permissions. One swipe. Done. Her key fob wouldn't let her into the building anymore. That night, she tried. I was on the couch, glass of scotch in hand, reading an article about business tax reforms when I heard the buzzing at the building door downstairs. Then again, and again, the intercom blinked. I waited. 3 rings. Then 4. Then silence. A minute later, my phone buzzed. Aubrey, my fob isn't working. Let me in. Then, it's cold. Then, don't do this. I stared at the screen for a long time. My thumb hovered over the reply button. But then I set the phone face down, stood, and walked into the kitchen. It wasn't revenge. It was boundaries. She'd crossed hers. I'd redrawn mine. Saturday afternoon, I stopped by the parking garage. Her car, well, her car, was still in its usual spot. A sleek black crossover with tinted windows and custom wheels she begged me to finance last spring. She justified it as a shared necessity for future road trips. We never took one. I rarely even rode in it. Still, it was in my name. My credit. My monthly payment. I placed the paperwork under the windshield, certified notice of retrieval. The finance company was scheduled to tow it Monday unless she moved it. And if she wanted to take over payments, she'd need to refinance under her own name. Good luck with that. Her credit score hadn't seen daylight since 2020. It was that night, Saturday night, when her messages turned sharp. You're being childish. I needed space, not sabotage. You always do this, play the victim and make things worse. I read them while brushing my teeth. Each line a new attempt to recast the story. Each word her scrambling effort to control a narrative that had finally slipped away from her. I sent one reply. You made a choice. Now you're just living in it. She didn't text again until morning. Sunday came with a new tactic, softness. I didn't mean what I said. You know that. There it was. The pivot. The subtle walk back. But her timing was off. Because that same morning, I had coffee with someone I hadn't seen in years, Carly, my ex from long before Aubrey, who reached out last week after seeing my name pop up on LinkedIn. We hadn't spoken since college. She was married once. Divorced now. And the way she smiled when she stirred her coffee, the way she asked real questions instead of talking about herself, there was something grounding about it. Easy. Clean. We didn't talk about Aubrey at all. That made it feel even better. Later, I scrolled through Aubrey's socials. Most of her old posts were still up, pictures of our condo, her with wine glasses clinking with women whose names I barely recognized. The likes were drying up. The comments stopped coming. I clicked on one of her photos and laughed quietly. Caption: built this life with love and hustle. Sure, if love meant manipulation and hustle meant spending my money. I took a screenshot. Not out of spite. Just to remember the version of her she wanted the world to believe. Because that version? She was about to meet reality. And reality was going to be cold. The next wave hit her on Tuesday morning. It started with a declined transaction at Bloom and Thatcher, the boutique she once called her second sanctuary. I wasn't there, obviously, but I got the alert. Amex had already frozen the card, and the store, like many upscale places in this city, doesn't do embarrassment gently. Especially when you're someone who used to waltz and wearing sunglasses and entitlement like a crown. She tried again at a corner cafe down the block. Same result. Same alert. This time, I imagined her standing at the counter, trying to play it cool, laughing it off like it was a bank glitch, while the barista awkwardly waited for a working card. Eventually, she must have pulled out that dusty debit card she never used unless she was splitting lunch with friends. That night, her tone changed again. I'm really struggling here. Can we just talk for 5 minutes? I didn't respond. She tried again. Everything is going wrong at once. Please. No response. Then came the guilt grenade. You're punishing me. Is that really what you want? Still, nothing. Because this wasn't punishment. It was clarity. She thought I was being cruel, but in truth, I was simply getting out of the way. She built this illusion of independence, power, control, and now she had it. I just removed the scaffolding she never realized was there. The next morning, I got a call from my building's front desk. Mr. Lane, someone named Aubrey tried to get in. Said she forgot her access card. We explained her fob was deactivated. She said you must have made a mistake. No mistake, I said. You did the right thing. There was a pause. She left, upset. I nodded silently and hung up. She wasn't used to doors not opening for her. Literally and figuratively. Later that afternoon, she posted a black and white selfie to her Instagram story with a vague quote overlaid. Sometimes people push away the ones who love them most. Followed by a broken heart emoji and the song Let Her Go by Passenger. Predictable. She was trying to provoke concern from her circle, maybe even prompt a few messages asking, what happened? Are you okay? But I noticed something interesting. No one replied publicly. No hearts. No comments. Not even a sympathy vote. The truth is, people had started drifting from her the moment the luxury dried up. Without the curated dinners, brand-sponsored posts, or rooftop champagne snapshots, she was just another face with nothing real to offer. Turns out, when you build your social capital on aesthetics and access, there's not much left when those are gone. The collapse wasn't just financial. It was social, emotional, and soon, it got personal. That weekend, I ran into Marissa at a local market. We hadn't spoken directly in months, but we knew of each other. She was Aubrey's best friend, or at least the one who had been around the longest. Hey, she said carefully. You okay? I gave a casual nod, polite but reserved. She hesitated. I didn't know things had gotten that bad between you two. Depends who you ask, I said. She glanced down at her coffee, then up at me again, lowering her voice. Can I be honest with you? Sure. Aubrey's been spinning a lot of stories. You ghosted her. You cut her off for no reason. That you're having some kind of midlife spiral. I smirked. Creative. But she added quickly, that's not why I'm saying this. I only mention it because I found something out, and I don't think you deserve to be the last one to know. My pulse steadied. Go on. She was talking to someone for a while. A guy named Dante. Tall, owns a bar downtown. You probably never met him. I blinked once. She said it wasn't physical, but they were texting a lot. Late night stuff. Emotional affair at the very least. I didn't think it was serious, but now I'm not so sure. Why now? Because she called me last week and asked if she could crash at my place. Said her cousin's apartment wasn't ready. Then I saw a story from Dante. He was hosting her at his loft. Same rug. Same couch. I recognized them. The silence between us settled like fog. I know it's not my place, she added. But I felt sick when I realized she was lying to everyone again. And I just didn't want you to think you were crazy. I didn't. Not anymore. I thanked her, and she nodded, like she was relieved to get it off her chest. When I got home, I opened my laptop and pulled up an old email chain. Back when Aubrey wanted to start a podcast about financial empowerment for modern women, she used my name to open the business registration. I had signed off on it as a co-applicant, more out of support than belief in the project. The podcast never took off, but the account still existed, and she was still routing branding collaboration payments into it, money that legally belonged to both of us. She thought I wouldn't notice. She thought it wasn't worth my time. So I logged into the dashboard, froze the account, and flagged it for review. By the end of the day, her last financial lifeline had been severed. Sunday night, a knock came at my door. Not the buzzer downstairs. A real knock. I looked through the peephole. It was her. Hair frizzed from the cold, makeup smudged under her eyes, wearing a designer coat that looked like it hadn't been dry cleaned in weeks. I opened the door slowly. She didn't speak at first. Then, I'm sorry. I didn't answer. Can I come in? Still silence. She took a breath. I'm not here to fight. I need help. The phrasing was deliberate, crafted. I could practically hear the internal monologue she practiced on the elevator ride up. I lost my card. And my friend who was helping me, he's gone. Moved out of town. Dante. She blinked. I saw it all then. The exact moment the mask cracked. How did you? You're not hard to track, Aubrey. Just loud. She looked away, then back at me, almost begging now. Look, I messed up. I was angry. I said things I didn't mean. But you can't seriously just leave me like this. You're not being left, I said. You're being allowed to stand on your own. Isn't that what you always wanted? Her lip trembled. I didn't mean any of it. I was lashing out. I noticed. A beat of silence. I don't have anywhere to go. You had a place. You threw it away. Along with your ring. Remember? Her eyes welled up. For a moment, I wondered if she'd collapse. Cry. Beg. But she didn't. She just stood there. Vulnerable. Exposed. And for once, silent. I reached into the drawer by the door and pulled something out. Her ring. I handed it to her, not with sentiment, not with forgiveness. Just finality. Take this with you. It's not mine anymore. She stared at it like it was radioactive, then took it, slowly, and walked away. No more texts that night. No more calls. Not even a melodramatic post online. Just silence, which, for the first time in years, felt like peace. By Thursday, I noticed a shift not just in her, but in the way the world was beginning to respond to her. There's something fascinating about the moment when a person who spent years building a persona realizes the scaffolding has collapsed. Not because someone tore it down, but because they walked away, and no one bothered to keep it upright for them. Aubrey's image, poised, enviable, untouchable, had started to fracture. Not on social media. Not immediately. There, she still clung to the illusion. She posted older photos, recycled captions, clutched at nostalgia like a lifeline. Growth is painful. Change is messy. But it's worth it. But what she didn't realize was that the people she used to influence, entertain, and manipulate, they had begun to talk. Word spread fast. It always does when drama seeps into a social circle built on appearances. Aubrey had always kept people in tears. The inner circle, those who offered her some kind of benefit, whether through status, money, or proximity to both. Then the outer ring, useful for parties, social proof, and online engagement. She wasn't cruel about it, not openly. But she kept score. She remembered who posted about her, who commented, who failed to react. Now, people were beginning to choose sides, and more than a few were drifting quietly to mine. I didn't orchestrate it, but I certainly didn't stop it either. That Friday evening, I got a call from someone unexpected, Kendra, one of her oldest friends. They met in college. Kendra was never flashy, never tried to play the same games Aubrey did. She stayed mostly neutral during our marriage. Never close to me, never hostile. Until now. Listen, she said, I wanted to say something privately, because I'm not about to post cryptic memes or blow things up online. I appreciate that, I said. But she's telling people you abandoned her. That you were always cold. Emotionally distant. That she tried to fix things, and you stonewalled her. I let her speak. Then she said, I saw the texts, Nathan. The one she sent Dante. Before she threw the ring. She didn't know her messages were backed up to our group chat folder. She thought she deleted them. I didn't need to ask what the text said. I had a good enough idea already. She was planning her exit weeks before the argument. Talking about her next chapter, saying you were just dead weight she needed to shake off. That once she had enough traction with the brand deals, she'd cut ties. And now she's crying about abandonment. There was a beat of silence. I'm not calling to stir anything up. I'm calling because people deserve to know the truth. You didn't ruin this marriage. You just stopped carrying it. That stuck with me. Later that night, I received a message from Marissa, too. Then Emily, Troy's wife. Then Clara, who used to go on those spa retreats with Aubrey every spring. One by one, they trickled in. Not dramatic accusations, just quiet admissions that they'd seen things, suspected things, and were done pretending otherwise. And that's when I made my move. The following week, I emailed our mutual accountant. I requested a full audit of all shared income tied to Aubrey's branding accounts and influencer activities. I supplied documentation from the podcast registration, plus payment history from the social platforms that had routed sponsorship money into the business account I co-owned. Then I triggered a clause in our premarital contract. Back when we got married, Aubrey insisted we add a clause protecting any business ventures started jointly, even if the partner wasn't active. It was her way of making me feel included in her dream. Turns out, she'd forgotten that clause also worked the other way around. Everything she'd tried to build in my shadow was legally tied to my name. Within a week, the monetization on her last 2 social platforms was suspended pending dispute resolution. The look on her face when she stormed into my building again wasn't one of rage this time. It was panic. She managed to tailgate behind a delivery guy and showed up at my door, fist clenched, mascara smeared from either weather or tears, I couldn't tell. You froze my accounts, she hissed. No, I said calmly. I triggered a review. You'll be able to prove everything's yours, assuming it is. You're trying to destroy me. I'm securing what's legally mine. Her hands trembled, but her voice stayed sharp. This is so low. You always pretended to be better than this. No, I said. You just convinced yourself I was too passive to respond. You were passive. Not anymore. I walked over to the kitchen, poured myself a glass of water, and turned my back to her. You wanted independence. You have it. You made your move. I made mine. The rest is just paperwork. She didn't respond right away. Then she whispered, Do you even miss me? I turned and looked her in the eye. Not who you became. She stared at me for several long seconds. I could see it, the calculation, the unraveling. She wanted a bridge back, even a cracked one. She wanted access to the version of me she used to manipulate. But that version was gone. What stood in front of her now was someone who had outgrown her chaos. When she finally turned and left, she didn't slam the door, didn't shout another insult. She just walked out slowly, defeated. This time, I didn't need to watch her go. I already knew she wouldn't be coming back. A few days later, Marissa messaged me again. Just a heads up. She's trying to rebuild her image, claiming she's taking a break from social media to heal. I replied, let her. I wasn't worried, because the people who used to buy her fiction had already seen the rewrites too many times. And because the one person she couldn't lie to anymore was herself. Let her tell the world she was on a journey of self-discovery. Let her pretend she was rediscovering her voice. The truth would settle, like it always does. And when it did, it would sound a lot like silence. 3 weeks passed before I heard from her again. No texts, no emails, just silence. A thick, purposeful silence that used to be my burden but was now her cage. I wasn't waiting for her to crawl back. I didn't need her to. The point of all this had never been to see her beg. It was to show her that the foundation she'd once stood on, so confidently, so smugly, wasn't hers. She didn't build it. She just walked across it like it owed her something. Now that it was gone, she had to figure out how to stand on her own, and from what I'd heard, she was learning the hard way. Her influencer accounts were still under audit. At least 2 of her former collaborators had quietly pulled partnerships. Her credit was shot. Her family, especially her sister, had started pulling away. And the one person who could have given her stability, me, was no longer in reach. So when I saw her name pop up in the visitor log at the front desk that Monday morning, I wasn't surprised. I was just curious. The building manager left me a voicemail. She's not being aggressive. She asked to speak with you. Says she just wants a few minutes. Should we ask her to leave? I called back. No, I said. Let her up. Not because I wanted to see her, but because some stories deserve a closing chapter, one that's written with ink, not fantasy. She knocked quietly this time. No banging. No shouting. Just a soft, tentative knock. I opened the door. She looked smaller. Not in stature, but in presence. Dressed plainly. No bold lipstick. No oversized designer sunglasses. Just jeans, a beige coat, and a face that had finally stopped pretending. She stepped inside slowly. I didn't invite her to sit. I didn't ask if she wanted water. We weren't hosting a reunion. This was business. This was closure. She stood there for a moment, hands in her pockets, eyes darting across the room like she was trying to memorize it. I know you probably don't want to see me, she said. I didn't answer. I didn't need to. I just came to say thank you, she added. That caught me. Not an apology. Not an excuse. But that. For what? For not yelling, she said. For not humiliating me. For not dragging it out on social media. For just letting me fall without catching me. I leaned against the wall, arms crossed. You expected a net? She gave a small, bitter laugh. No, but I guess I was used to one always being there. She shifted her weight. I made it worse, I know. I turned something broken into something unrecognizable. I thought if I got ahead of it, told my version of things, maybe I could rewrite it. But I was wrong. That part, I believed. Because for the first time since all of this began, she wasn't speaking like someone defending herself. She was just admitting she'd lost. She pulled something from her coat pocket and held it out. The ring. Cleaned. Polished. Held delicately between 2 fingers. I want you to have it back, she said. Not to fix anything. Just to return what doesn't belong to me. I took it. Not because I wanted it. Because she needed to let go of it. She gave a faint nod. That's all. Then she turned and walked out. No breakdown. No theatrics. Just a door closing behind her and a weight lifting off my chest. And that was the real ending. But there was another path I could have taken. One where I chose to let her back in. Where I let my guard down, listened to her speech, felt her tears land on my shirt like old times. Maybe I believed she'd changed. Maybe I told myself people deserved second chances, even the ones who lied, manipulated, and betrayed. In that version, she came back. She stayed for a few nights. Started cooking again. Made plans. Complimented my new haircut. Asked about my work. But late one night, I woke up and saw the blue glow of her phone lighting up the room. She didn't notice I was awake. Her fingers moved quickly across the screen, smiling at something, some conversation I wasn't part of. When I checked the next morning, quietly, discreetly, I found it. Her other account. The one where she vented about being back in the cage. Where she called me predictable, gullible, safe. Where she posted a selfie with the caption, "You have to play the role to collect the reward." And just like that, I ended it all again. Only this time, I didn't do it quietly. I screenshot everything. Forwarded it to the sponsors that had begun circling back. And this time, when she left, there was no ring to return. Only consequences. I've also imagined a different outcome, one that still haunts me when I lie awake at night. A path I almost took. The night she threw the ring at my feet, if I'd chased after her. If I begged. If I'd believed her when she said it was just words. If I'd forgiven her before she even earned it. We'd still be together now. Living in separate emotional bedrooms under the same roof. She'd still be shopping on my card, still stringing me along with the illusion of effort, occasional affection, mechanical kindness, obligatory intimacy. I'd be clinging to the memory of the woman I married, trying to stitch the good parts of her onto the version that survived. And one day, I'd find a receipt, a message, an email, a glimpse of truth I couldn't ignore anymore. But by then, I'd be years older, thousands of dollars deeper, and completely hollowed out. And I'd realize I hadn't saved anything, just lengthened the betrayal. That alternate version of me wakes up next to a stranger every morning and pretends it's worth it. But in reality, the real me never reached for her again, and I've never regretted it. Not for a second.
Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments, and do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel.